Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something huge, a global mission that's apparently been going on for 2,000 years. Our source material calls it the pioneering task, and it makes the bold claim that we're closer than ever to actually finishing it.
So, what are we really talking about here? I mean, what is this 2 millennial-old task, and what's actually left to do? Let's dive in and break it down.
All right, so first things first, we got to get on the same page. What exactly is this pioneering task?
Okay, so the definition here is really key. The pioneering task, according to our source, is all about taking the gospel to what they call unreached people. Now, this isn't about, just supporting existing communities. Nope. This is about breaking completely new ground. We're talking about making disciples, planting churches, basically going into places where this specific message has never really taken hold before. Okay, so to really get our heads around the sheer scale of what's left, the source makes this really important distinction. It draws a clear line between two totally different kinds of work. So on one hand, you've got the pioneering task. Think of this as the risky apostolic stuff, breaking new ground, expanding the frontier. And on the other hand, you have the maintenance task. This is more pastoral, strengthening the communities that are already there, that steady, ongoing work.
And this whole distinction, it really boils down to one critical number: 25%. According to the source, that's how much of the world's population is still part of this pioneering task, a whole quarter of the globe. So, how did we even get to that number? Well, the history behind it is actually pretty amazing.
Yeah, so the source doesn't just see this as a checklist, it's framed as this massive historical movement. And what's really wild is that after centuries and centuries of moving at a snail's pace, things have just exploded in the last few decades. The acceleration is just incredible. So this timeline really tells the story. We're going to look at 4 key moments, 4 snapshots, starting way back in 33 AD and jumping all the way to today.
Okay, let's rewind all the way to the beginning, 33 AD. At this point, the task was, it was basically the entire world. The source estimates a mind-blowing 98.6% of the global population was unreached. Think about that. Almost everyone on the planet fell into this pioneering category. The entire world was a frontier.
All right, now let's fast forward. And I mean way forward, over 1,700 years to 1792. That's a huge chunk of human history, right? And after all that time, the progress was, it was super slow. The number only dropped from about 99% down to 75%. Most of the world was still considered a frontier. Okay, now we get to the modern era. In the next 182 years, leading up to 1974, things start to pick up steam. A little bit. Another 15% gets chipped away, bringing the number down to 60%. So, progress, for sure. But still, a massive task ahead. And right here, this is where the story completely changes. In just the last 50 years, think about that, just from 1974 until now, the task has shrunk by an unbelievable 35%. Just let that sink in for a second. More progress in the last 50 years than in the previous 1,900 years put together. I mean, wow. The source literally calls this the greatest era of progress in mission history. It's a total game changer.
So all that incredible acceleration brings us right here to today. And it begs the question, right? Who are the people in that remaining 25%? Well, the source puts a number on it, and it's a big one: 2 billion people. And these aren't just, random individuals. They're spread across 5,000 distinct groups, each with its own language and culture. And they're called frontier people groups for a really specific reason. There's basically no local church or community of believers there to reach them. They're on a true frontier.
And when you look at where these people are, it's incredibly concentrated. I mean, just look at this map. A whopping 70% of all these frontier people groups are in South Asia. And get this, about half of the entire 2 billion, they live in just one country, India.
So what about their religious backgrounds? Well, the data is super clear on this. The vast majority are either Muslim, that's 56%, or Hindu, which makes up another 41%.
So, okay, we've seen the history, we've seen the numbers, we know who and where we're talking about. The source doesn't just lay out the problem, though. It actually proposes a very specific 2-part strategy for how to get this done. And they call it the twin strategy. It's pretty simple, really. It boils down to two key things: mobilization and prayer. The source describes them as being like two wings on a plane, totally inseparable. You absolutely need both of them for the mission to even get off the ground.
So let's talk about that first wing, mobilization. You can think of this as the engine, right? It's all the practical stuff, the groundwork. It's about letting people know what the task is, giving them the tools and knowledge they need, and making sure the church is focused on these mission priorities. Basically getting everyone and everything aligned and moving in the same direction.
And then you've got the second wing, prayer. This is positioned as the spiritual fuel, the power source for the whole thing. It's seen as the force that can break through spiritual barriers, open doors for workers to get into these places, and create those powerful divine encounters. Okay, so this all brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. This is where everything we've talked about, the history, the numbers, this twin strategy, it all comes together into one single strategic focus.
And the big strategic takeaway from the source is really simple: prioritization. It's all about an intense, laser-like focus on where you can make the biggest possible impact. And here's what that looks like. Instead of trying to tackle all 5,000 groups at once, which would be a lot, the strategy is to prioritize fewer than 300 of the largest ones, the mega groups with over 1 million people each. Now, why do that? Well, because these few hundred groups actually account for 1.6 billion people. That's 80% of the entire task right there. It's kind of like the 80-20 rule, but on a massive global scale.
So there you have it. The source lays out this incredible story. A task that's 2,000 years old, a mind-blowing acceleration in our lifetime, and a super-focused strategy to actually finish it. It presents a detailed plan, but it leaves us with this one big question to think about. Is it possible that the key to completing one of history's longest-running missions isn't about doing more, but about being smarter and focusing on less?